In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president.
All new here at noon, Nikki Haley suspending her campaign for president. There is now no question Donald Trump will be the Republican presidential nominee. He won 14 of 15 contests across the country, now set to face off against President Biden in a rematch this November. But there were some surprises and some warning signs for both candidates. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
Today, Nikki Haley suspending her campaign.
I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets.
Haley stepping away after an underwhelming Super Tuesday, winning only one state last night, Vermont. Today, Haley congratulating former President Trump, but stopping short of endorsing him.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that.
With Haley out of the race, it now clears the way for Trump to secure the Republican nomination.
This is a big one.
Setting up a potential repeat showdown with President Biden in November.
November 5th is going to go down as the single most important day in the history of our country.
Today in a memo, Biden's campaign team writes Donald Trump's path is limited and his coalition is hemorrhaging. Biden's team now focused on winning over Haley's supporters, capitalizing on concerns they have about Trump.
I don't want to vote for Trump. It makes me sick to my stomach.
I'm not happy with either.
I think Haley voters are going to be the story of the general election. Who wins those voters is going to matter a lot.
Super Tuesday exit polling in Virginia shows 68% of Haley's supporters were unwilling to say they'd support the Republican nominee, whoever it is. Those numbers even higher in North Carolina and California.
I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind."
Biden and Trump are already trying to win over Haley's supporters. In a statement this morning, Biden writes, "There is a place for them in my campaign." Trump writes they should join what he calls the greatest movement in the history of our nation. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
And in the last hour, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell endorsed Donald Trump for president, saying it should come as no surprise that as nominee, he will have my support. Well, today, the man accused of killing a student on the campus of Campbellsville University appeared in court, and it was the first time we heard from police about the evidence in the case. 21-year-old Charles Escalera was arrested February 24th in connection to the death of 18-year-old Josiah Kilman. The two were teammates on the university's wrestling team, and an autopsy confirmed Kilman died from strangulation. Today, we heard what evidence detectives had placing Escalera at the scene.
During the initial investigation by responding officers in room 303D, a backpack not belonging to Josiah Kilman was discovered. Located inside the backpack were a laptop, cell phone, and identification belonging to Charles Ezekiel Escalera. Video surveillance from the dorm lobby was reviewed. Charles Escalera was seen entering the South Hall dorm at approximately 10:55 p.m. with a white shirt and a backpack, and exiting the building at approximately 11:49 p.m. without the backpack.
Escalera is facing a murder charge in Taylor County and burglary out of Greene County. One of the men accused in the Crystal Rogers case has asked a judge to dismiss his charges. In a motion filed yesterday, Steve Lawson's attorney said he was promised immunity in exchange for his testimony, but the state's going back on its offer by charging him with conspiracy to commit murder and evidence tampering. The attorney says Lawson was interviewed by local investigators in 2015 and then by the FBI in 2020. He then testified to a grand jury in 2023. All in exchange for that promise of immunity. Attorneys either want Lawson's charges dropped or for his testimony to be excluded from evidence. They're asking the court to hear the motion on March 21st when both Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson are expected in court. New search warrants in the Jamie Knoll investigation reveal more classic cars and the addition of $7 million in military surplus equipment. In all, 44 search warrants have been served against former Clark County Sheriff. Indiana State Police investigated a hardware store in both Scottsburg and Deputy, Indiana, which is a small town just northeast of Scottsburg. Knoll is accused of stealing millions of dollars in public money for his own personal gain and to benefit family and friends. Our Focus investigator, John Charlton, breaks down the new warrants and how they're linked to Knoll.
Jamie Knoll has a pattern of using funds from the Utica Township Volunteer Firefighters Association to buy cars, putting those cars in his name, then reselling them and pocketing the money. That's what the former Clark County Sheriff is accused of doing. And one of those cars in question is a '57 Chevy Bel Air. In a recent search warrant, and according to Indiana State Police, a tipster told them that he believes the car is stored inside this former hardware store on East Curtin Street in Scottsburg. That tipster said former Scott County Sheriff Kenny Hubanks owns and rents the old store, and that Hubanks took him inside to show him the Bel Air and several other classic cars. In the warrant is documentation, ISP says, showing Knoll sold the '57 Bel Air to Hubanks in September of 2022 for $39,500. Hubanks wrote the check from an account with EH Insurance, the insurance company he owns and the company which insures Utica Township Fire. Knoll then deposited the money in his personal bank account. Meanwhile, ISP found that between 2015 and 2022, the Clark County Sheriff's Office received $7 million in military surplus, including forklifts and generators. Much of that equipment had been moved to unknown locations in U.S. government and military shipping containers. According to a search warrant released Tuesday, information led investigators to a property on West Corporation Drive in Deputy, Indiana. On Sunday, ISP investigators say they found 26 containers. Several were open and appeared to contain surplus equipment. Investigators also found a surplus forklift, as well as a surplus train from the old Jeffersonville powder plant. John Charlton, WHAS11, on your side.
Our Focus team has been following this case closely. You can read how Knoll's wife and daughter are both connected to these allegations on WHAS11.com. Metro Police are investigating two deadly shootings from overnight, one of which killed a man inside of a liquor store. It happened shortly after 9 last night at the Oya Liquor Store on Dixie Highway. That's in the Algonquin neighborhood next to Shorty's Food Mart. When police arrived, the officers found a young man dead, shot multiple times. Police believe several people saw it all happen. The other shooting happened around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. Police found a man who'd been shot in a car on Shagbark Road in the St. Denis neighborhood. He died at the scene. Now, there aren't any suspects in these cases at this point. If you have information, you are urged to call the anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. We heard from the ACLU of Kentucky today about the success of this year's amnesty docket. It was held in Louisville last month, and over 160 people took part over a 3-day time frame. Way more people than they'd expected. Organizers acknowledge many people with bench warrants have obstacles in getting to court to resolve their case, from child care to transportation, even just lack of information. The ACLU and its partners made Uber rides and Tark passes available. They sent out text reminders and provided childcare on the spot during the docket process. Mark Pence was one of the 160 who participated.
A lot of people want to do the right thing, but if they feel like they're going to be punished for doing the right thing, they won't. It's really hard to be an example to somebody if you can't follow that example yourself. And so the best thing I want to be able to do for my youth is just get myself together so that they can know it's possible, they can know that it's real, and they can feel like they can have that same ability to come to court without feeling like they have to run.
More than 300 cases were resolved over that 3-day amnesty docket. Some had warrants for the last 10 years. Justice Partners raised more than $70,000 to help pay for restitution cases. Organizers said the 3 days is not enough and hope to make this more of a recurring event. Today, a Metro Council committee is set to discuss a proposal aimed at giving the local alcohol beverage control more authority. The proposed ordinance would grant it the ability to immediately issue suspensions of a bar's alcohol license if there's a public security threat. Well, right now, officers have to go through state regulators. It comes after recent violent incidents grabbed the attention of our city leaders. Authorities are currently working to strip Cafe 360 in the Highlands of its license, where one of 6 deadly shootings in Louisville happened over the weekend. The Public Safety Committee will discuss these ordinances at 4 o'clock today.